Hey beautiful people, what is up and welcome back to my channel. I'm Jamila and I love all things beauty. I love all things makeup, I love all things skincare, and I especially love sharing my tips and tricks for how to find high-end and luxury beauty products at bargain prices. If that sounds like something you're interested in, I would absolutely love if you would consider subscribing and joining the fam. Okay, so I'm really excited for this video because I have two new products from Sydney Grace that showed up today and I can't, y'all, I am like dying. Quick sidebar before we get into this first impressions. Like, this package came yesterday and I was like basically almost in tears. I was so happy to receive it and I am like, why am I so emotional about makeup? Guess who got their period today? And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. So if my energy feels a little low, if I sound a little bit off, honestly, I'm just tired because one, life is lifing, and two, the tired that women feel when we are on our menstrual cycle and everything hurts. Like, I have the worst cramps. It took me like an hour to get set up to film this video because I kept going through the cycle of I need to throw up, but I don't need to throw up. I don't want to throw up, so how do I not throw up? Let me just sit and wait it out. So I feel okay enough to film, to attempt to film, but if things just feel a little bit off, y'all know what it is. You, especially my ladies out there, y'all know what it is, right? I just feel like all women deserve like a monthly stipend for going through this. Deadass. I don't know, y'all call all the legislators. Anyways, that's not what you came here for. So like I mentioned, I have two new products from Sydney Grace. I did get both of these in PR, so I'll let you guys know how I feel about them, if I would purchase them had I not received it in PR. And the way in which I like to do my first impressions or my review videos is I like to give you guys all of the product details, some swatches, as well as do like one or two looks depending on time, and then come back and wrap up and give you guys some of my sort of overarching thoughts. Now, because this is a first impressions, you're just going to get sort of my first impressions thoughts on this. I will continue to use this and will let you guys know a little bit later on my thoughts on both of these products. Okay, so let's just go ahead and dive into the product details. So like I mentioned, there are two products that they will be releasing. The first one is the Unbreakable Bond Palette. Now, typical with Sydney Grace, it does come in a light and a deep option, which, y'all, I absolutely love that, and I don't know any other brands that are doing that. But I appreciate the fact that they give us two versions, because for somebody of a deeper complexion, oftentimes the light version does not include matte shades or those sort of transition shades that work for us. They usually end up being really ashy. But you can choose the deeper version where you're sure every single shade will show up on your skin tone. And I want to say a huge thank you to Sydney Grace for first sending this to me, but also just sending me the deep version. I know a lot of brands will send out their entire collection to folks to swatch and all that jazz, but I appreciate when brands are like thoughtful about the fact that most people, all people, don't need your entire line. Like, don't send somebody 20 million foundations. You are only like one, maybe two shades. Don't send people all of these products that are just gonna go to waste. So I'm really appreciative that they only sent me the deep version, because it would have been extremely duplicative with the shades. So here we have the Unbreakable Bond palette. Isn't she gorgeous? I know, it's a neutral palette. It's real basic, but in all truth, I've been feeling hella neutral lately. I swear, like this entire last week, all I did was wear neutral eyeshadow. I was in this like one and done, two and done like mood, and all I wanted was neutrals on my eyes. So I'm really excited by this because this has been my vibe for like the past week and a half. So really excited. Now, you do get the product details on the back of the palette as well as on the back of the sleeve. So if you were interested in the ingredients, feel free to like stop, screenshot this, because I know, knowing the ingredients can be really important for folks that have allergies. Now, just quickly on this, I will say it does have an 18-month shelf life, and it was made in the USA. So there we go. And I want to give you guys a little bit of the details that they actually sent along with this palette. So it's called the Unbreakable Bond Palette, and they say that this is a beautiful wearable palette that was originally released as the Taylor Bundle. We're excited to bring it back in palette form with a few changes. We are so honored to collab on this palette with the sweet, beautiful, and talented Taylor sisters. We have had the privilege of knowing these girls for most of their lives, and each one holds a special place in our hearts. And honestly, when I saw this is when, I was almost in tears. If you didn't know, I have two sisters, it's the three of us. So it just resonated with me so much because they have this like beautiful photo of these three girls and I'm just like, oh, it's so cute. And it just made me think of my sisters and I was like almost in tears, but you know, that's what happens when you're about to be on your menstruals. Your emotions and hormones and everything is all over the place. So this will release March 27th at 9 a.m. PST and it will retail for $56. So that was what this will cost. And how many shades is this? God, I know this review's a little bit on all over the place. I haven't filmed in a while, so excuse how random this is. So it's 16, so it's 16 shades. Now it is primarily a neutral palette, but it does kind of lean, like you get some pinks, some standard neutrals, a little bit of cool tones in there as well. And then you do have two blue shades, a blue matte and a blue shimmer. So once you cover that, you'll realize that pretty much the vast majority of this palette is pretty neutral. And you do have like this kind of like silvery neutrally shade if you want to go a little more cool tone. So again, this will retail for $56 and is coming out March 27th. Now, there are a number of influencer codes with Sydney Grace. I know Mel Thompson, her code is, I believe, still active with the brand. So if you are interested in picking it up, I definitely recommend you using a code that will give you a percentage off. All right, so the next release is the Luminous Light Palette. And hallelujah! I was so excited for this. This is in the deep version as well. And this is a face palette, you guys. We didn't know we needed a face palette, but we got it. So this is the deep version of the face palette. Now, this will also be released on the 27th at 9 a.m. PST. And it will come in either fair, medium, and deep. And each palette has 4 shades. So I have the deep one, and it comes with 2 matte bronzers at the bottom here. So you have a sort of lighter version and a darker version. I will say that this one leans more neutral, this one leans more red, and then this is like a shimmer version. I can't tell if it's a blush or like a shimmery bronze, or maybe it's a little bit of both. Maybe it's a bronzer. Hey guys, editing me popping in here because after Sydney Grace revealed the face palettes, I realized that there's actually 2 blushes, a bronzer, and a highlight, not 2 matte bronzers. So sorry for that confusion. But again, you can use it however you want. It doesn't say that it's a blush. It doesn't say that you get like 2 bronzers, a blush, and a highlight. But I feel like it has blush tones to it. So maybe it's a blush. Maybe it's a shimmery blush. Or if you wanted to mix it into your bronzer, you could do that as well. And then you have a highlight. I love how deep and how rich this is. Really excited to try this. I'm typically not a huge fan of face palettes where there are multiple bronzer shades because truthfully you oftentimes only need one, but I have come to appreciate when they have at least 2 shades because that way you can mix and match and get the same or the perfect tone that you need. It actually kind of reminds me of the Trixie bronzer, which is one that does something similar. Let me show you guys. So this is the Trixie bronzer. So it has a light, a deep, you can mix and match to get the perfect bronzer shade. And that's what this one reminded me of, which I've been really appreciating, the fact that you could do that with this. And it does come with the highlighter shade. Now this is going to retail for $28, which... Sorry, I'm like just registering the price of this in my mind because $28 divided by 4, that's not bad per shade. Like, wow. Damn. Okay, so $28. It does, again, have an 18-month shelf life, was made in the USA, and you get 25 grams of product. So for the price, I'm not mad at it. And I didn't tell you guys this, but with the eyeshadow palette, it comes with 18 grams of product. So in case you were wondering. All right, so both of these are what we're gonna play with today. I'm gonna keep it real simple. I don't think I'm gonna be doing multiple looks. Well, I know I'm not gonna be doing multiple looks today because my eyes can't handle that, but I'll at least do one look with the palette, and depending on how my week goes, I might just do another one and insert some like music over it so you guys can watch me do a second look. All right, let's dive in. Now you guys know I love the Sydney Grace eyeshadow formula, so I'm expecting the same top-notch quality. They are one of the most consistent eyeshadow formulas I have in my collection. So I just think that this is gonna be smooth sailing. All right, so to start things off, I'm gonna go in with the Taylor Girls shade as my transition shade, putting that all over the crease. Ooh, great pickup. And like I always say, I'm gonna really try to keep this simple, easy, and quick. And you know, most of the times I'm lying. Most of the times it doesn't turn out. I'm not lying. I be going in thinking that I'm gonna keep it really simple, and then I just get inspired. I feel like I get inspired along the way and just want to add more shades and try something else. But like I told you guys, I've been feeling really like basic these past couple days, and like just like slap 2 shades on the lid and go. So I'm gonna give y'all more than 2 shades, but it's not gonna be anything crazy. Plus my skin, if you've been following me on Instagram, has been acting like I don't treat her right. Like disrespectful. Like you guys don't understand how much money, and I do have a video talking about my skincare journey that I will link down below, where I have like photos of what my skin used to look like. And I have spent thousands of dollars on taking care of my skin. I have seen multiple dermatologists. I have been on multiple prescription products, both oral and topical, to get my skin under control. And it just woke up and decided not today, and I'm like, ma'am, don't sit here and act like I've been treating you bad, because you get all the best of the best products and you gonna do me like this? Really? So, but I'm also recognizing that because I'm on my period, that's why a lot of this is happening right now. Like I have a lot of flares around my jawline, which if you read up on like acne and acne placement and where you break out, most of the time breakouts around the jawline are tied to hormones and hormonal changes, which on your menstruals, that's pretty much the cause. So I do have some oral and some new oral and topical meds that my dermatologist prescribed that should be able to help with some of the flares that are happening right now. And well, I just gotta ride through this period and we'll get back there. We'll get back there. This is turning into a little bit of a chatty get ready with me as well. So, hey, how y'all doing? Okay, so the pigment in this is fabulous. It's going on and blending like a dream. I expect nothing less. Let's start to deepen things up a bit. So I'm gonna go into the shade Cleveland, and I'm gonna start adding that into the crease as well, deepening things up, mainly on the outer part of the eye. Using my Refa brush, but it's not giving me the blend that I needed to. Like, it's very stiff. Okay, let's try another brush. Okay, I'm gonna go into my Units 307. It's the same one I used for the first shade. I have multiples of these. This is one of my favorite brushes. It's one of my favorite brush sets. It's the Units brand is the Beautylish brand. Kind of like, you know how Sephora has their own namesake and Ulta has their own namesake. Beautylish has their own, and it's called Units, and they have this orange brush set, which I bought just because it was orange, and honestly, it's actually really nice. Now, the face brushes, could have done without those, but the eye brushes, they're dope. I really like the blending, this like big fluffy blending brush that they have, and they have like this flat, I guess it's called a shader brush. I don't know. I'm not good with these brush names, but it's like a flat brush to like put shimmers all over the lids that I really, really like as well. I like seeing what you see. Okay, that is definitely deepening things up, giving me some of that smokiness that I want. I'm not trying to go too deep, too grunge. That's not the goal here. So I'm going to continue to deepen things up further using the same brush. I'm going to go into this shade. It's called Backroads. But I'm going to start putting that into the outer V. Oh, perfect. I wasn't sure if I'd have to go into that other deep chocolate brown shade, but this is giving me everything that I need. I love you until further notice. I love you until I lose focus. I'm gonna go back into the first shade and the first brush, and I'm gonna just blend out the edges of where the dark shade meets the light. This is not my neatest blending, I will say that, you guys. Sorry. And this isn't the fault of the shadows. I'm a little rusty and messy today, but it's eyeshadow. We're fine. Oh, damn. I forgot to take pictures of this palette before using it. You see how excited I am? It's okay. I don't think anyone really cares. I like this. This is like a real simple, everyday look that I'm going for. I'm hoping I can film at least 2 other videos today, if I'm feeling up to it. Plus, I gotta wash these brushes. Okay, now it's time for the shimmers. So I want to go into the shade Just Peachy. It is like an orange shade with like some pink gold reflex in there. So beautiful. I've been staring at this the whole time. I just knew I had to put this on my lids. Ooh, it looks pink on the brush. So this is my my Sonia G Wicker brush. Gonna have to go into my finger to get a little bit more opacity. Yeah, I'm gonna take my finger. Oh, that's pretty. There we go. Like, I could have continued with the brush, but I just find this to be faster. Like, it's easier for me to just take my fingers, plop the shadows on the lid, and then just use a brush to clean it up. But I know there are a lot of people who don't like touching the shadows with their fingers, digging their grubby hands into it. And that's fine. That's totally up to you. It's definitely a preference thing. And if it's just you using your shadows, then, you know, you should feel free to touch it all how many times you want. Oh my god, this shade is stunning. Like, I'm tempted to just stick with this one shade, but y'all know my signature look. I like to go in with one shimmer and then another one in like the inner third. So that's what we're gonna do today. Especially because I think it gives you guys a chance to see multiple looks on the lid. And now that I have the shadows, well, that first shade place, just going in with the brush and just cleaning that up a little bit. And I will go back and blend these edges in a sec. Okay, and I promised you guys 2 shimmers, so then I'm gonna go into this second shimmer here. It's this gold shade called Aunties. Hey, Auntie. And I'm gonna put that in the inner third of the eye. Oh, that's equally pretty. This also has a very pinky hue to it, so I think that it's a perfect, you know, shade to blend into this one. I'm also using my Refa number 2 brush. I really like this because it is dense and small enough to get into this inner third area. Like, some of these flat brushes are large, and you know, because you want to get the full surface area of your lid, which is great in my opinion for like the center of the eyelid where I put this first shade. But when I want to get into like the inner third, small detailed brushes like this are what I go for. Okay, so this is what the eyes are looking like right now. You guys know the drill. I'm gonna go ahead and blend all of these shades together, as I always do, because once I put down shadows like this, I usually end up with a very harsh line here, as you can see, and that's when I just go back in with the matte shades and just start blending it so that it flows a little bit more seamlessly. So I'm gonna go ahead, clean this up, blend things together. I'll do my foundation and everything off camera, and then I'll come back to show you guys the face palette. Okay, I'm back, and the eyes are eyeing, if that's a thing. Let's dive into the face palette. Oh my god, I had to take a break too because I'm just like so nauseous, you guys. Like it hurts so bad. I should probably eat something too. It is almost noon and I don't typically have breakfast. I think I need to eat before I take some pain meds. Anyways, y'all don't care about my pain. Y'all are here for this palette. So we're gonna go into the face palette. I'm really excited by this. I love bronzers. You guys know that. I just want to look like I live on a beach, which I don't. Never have. So let's go into bronzing. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to go into the lighter of the two shades. This is called Stardom, and it is the more neutral of it. Now, I don't love red bronzers, so I'm genuinely scared by this darker one because I just feel like they don't look good on me. Maybe not on anybody, but I just feel like they are so harsh. And that's just a personal opinion. I am not a professional in this. I just know how to make myself look good to me. So just take that with however you want to take it. But I prefer more neutral because I feel like it just looks a little bit more natural and not as forced as like the harsh red undertone. So I'm going to go into Stardom. I'm using my Sephora number 50 brush. This is brand new. Never used. Okay. Ooh, a nice kick up. There. I'm going to start like sort of trying to place it in this cheekbone area. Why can't I speak? Okay, it's giving a nice natural. Ooh. Okay. I may not even need to go into the deeper one. I will add a little bit of it so you guys can see both colors on the face, but I am terrified, and then it's gonna be for demonstration purposes only. I don't think it's gonna be a shade that I use very often. But this is bronzing. She is cute. Okay. This is a very, very natural bronze, like you can see. And you can see exactly where it stops here. So you see I have the bronze here. Nothing on this side. A little bit of chisel. And because it is a more neutral shade, which I prefer, I feel like it does do like that double contour bronze thing. I don't contour because I don't know how to do that. Y'all, when I tell you my skill set is very limited when it comes to makeup application, I'm not playing. I like learned all these things by trial and error. I've kind of like figured out how to do my own face in a way that's simple. So I don't do a lot of those like contour, bake, all of those things I just don't do. Mainly because I don't know how to do it. So I like the more neutral because it does give a little bit of chisel and warmth to the face. It sounds counterintuitive because contouring is supposed to be cool, bronzing is supposed to be warm, but I like how this looks kind of like as an all-in-one. Okay. I'm going to ever so gently dip into this Sweet Briar shade. Gently. And add that on top of this to see how much additional it gives. This is very red, so I am a little worried. A little bit of that. I'm gonna start up here, which shite. Okay, we can fix that. Fix this. We can fix this. Okay, hold on. Don't panic. Do not panic. I am panicking. Okay, that's way too much. So I'm taking my Sydney Grace brush. Let's buff, okay? We are fixing this. Jesus. Okay. So this is just a clean Sydney Grace brush. I don't know what this one is called, but I am buffing that in. Okay. Okay, we fixed it. So it definitely added extra. If you are deeper than me, whoo child, it has some pigment, so you might like that. If you are my complexion, you might not want to use it at all, or just like very gently, you guys. So I do have a little bit of it left over, so I'm just gonna try to even out the sides here. Like, I know I'm demonstrating for you guys, but I also don't want to look crazy, so I'm trying to be like very realistic in how I'm showing you guys this. And that is a potent shade. But on the plus side, you can buff it out. I was very worried. I panicked a little bit. I thought, oh my gosh, this is just gonna sit on my face and I'm just gonna look like somebody punched me. But I was able to buff it out. So you can work with this. You can blend and buff and soften. Now the face is giving life, it's giving color, so very, very happy about that so far. Ooh, I feel like my heart rate went up, y'all. It's nothing worse than like doing your makeup only to realize that you like messed up and you gotta start all over. Okay, so I really think this is a blush. Yes, I've decided that it's a blush, a nice shimmery blush. So I'm gonna go in with my Sydney Grace blush brush and I'm going to apply that to the cheeks, kind of blending it into the bronzer because I feel like this is a bronzer type shade. So, oh, that's pretty. Ooh, that is really pretty. Okay. I love that. That is gorge. Oh my god. I feel like I'm getting too much sun for you guys to see this fully. Let me see if I can adjust the exposure. So I adjusted it a little bit so you can see, but I just put it back to normal. I'm gonna apply on this side. So I'm just picking up some of that product and then I'm tapping it into the face. So right above the bronzer, blending it upwards as well as onto my cheekbones. I try not to go too much into the apples of the cheek. I think I saw that somewhere that you don't want to go too low down because if you go, the higher you go, the more it lifts the face. Don't ask me where I saw that. Maybe it was TikTok. I don't know why I'm saying maybe it was TikTok. I don't have TikTok. So it was probably a TikTok uploaded to Instagram or something of the sort. And the reality is when it comes to makeup, you have to like know your face shape, your preference, because not everything works for every face shape, type, preference, you know, that whole jazz. This, gorge. Love this. I don't know why I thought that that was a bronzer. It did look a little bit deep, but sheer blush. And it's not too shimmery, because sometimes these shimmery blushes can just look greasy and glittery, but no, y'all. Okay, I know I have a lot of blush on. I will, you know, at the end of all of this, what I do is I buff everything kind of into the skin. So, fear not. Okay, so while we're here, let me bring you guys back in a little bit closer so we can quickly do the lower lash line. So I'm going to go back into Backroads. That is this deep brown shade that I used to deepen up the outer V. And I'm going to use that in the outer half of this waterline. You call. I don't pick up at all. I got nothing left to say. Better stop saying my name. Good. I'm gonna actually go into the darker brown, which is right next to it. It's called Port Swing. I'm picking up the tiniest bit of that and concentrating that on the outer part to give a little bit more smoke. And I want to be able to show you guys at least one more shimmer. So I'm going to go into this second gold shade here. It's called Hailey's Haze. And I'm going to put that into the inner half of the waterline. No, cause you're spoken for. No, cause you're spoken for. Okay, so that's it. That's all we're going to do with the eyes. And while I have you guys... So, oh, now you can see the blush, really nice, as well as the bronzer. Okay, loving it. I am going to go into the highlight shade in this face palette. Where is... Okay, so the highlight shade is called Wonderstruck. It looks blinding, so I'm going to be very gentle. And then I'm going to apply this to the cheekbones. Yeah, definitely can be intense. So just take your time. And as always, you can buff things out if you want to soften it up. And like I always do, I like to go in with my highlight as my brow bone highlight. So I'm just gonna take a little bit of that and plop that here.
We're so good at playing games, but what happens when it's over?
Okay. You all know the drill. I'm gonna go ahead and add some mascara, put a little bit of brown liner in the waterline, and come back, show you guys the final face, and give you my first impressions thoughts.
No, cause you're spoken for. No, cause you're spoken for. Oh yeah, yeah, I'm thinking it over. Wonder if you ever told her. No, cause you're spoken for. No, cause you're spoken.
Okay guys, I'm back. This is the final face. For good measure, I went ahead and I threw on my Tracy lip from Sydney Grace. I think that this shade is discontinued because I have not been able to find it on the website. This is what I've been wearing in pretty much every single video you guys have seen in like the last month or two. I have been obsessed with it. I just haven't been able to find it on the Sydney Grace site anymore. But it's like a gloss with so much pigment that I feel like it's a lipstick, but it's not. It's just really like, it's a gloss. It's a gloss that has like enough pigment to be a lipstick. And I love it. And I can wear it by itself without a lip liner or anything. So that's what I've been wearing. Okay, I like this. I love this face. I just feel like it looks like a good face. It's a solid face. Okay, let's talk about the products really quickly because I feel like this is already a long video. As a reminder, this is a first impressions. This was my first time trying these products. So I will have to come back and give you guys like more formed thoughts after I'm done with it. As for the eyeshadow palette, the Unbreakable Bond palette, I really like this. I think that it's absolutely beautiful. These are some stunning everyday neutrals that you can wear on a daily basis, and I think that they put together a really well curated palette for that neutral lover. Now, do I think that there might be some redundancy in the shades? Honestly, possibly. I do think that some of the mattes here can be very, very close in terms of the color and how they show up on the eyes being really similar. Like, I can see some of that here. So just something to keep in mind if you don't mind it. I think the matte to shimmer ratio is really nice. I think that it works well. I haven't tried the two blue shades that they put in here to give you a little pop of color, but I am looking forward to putting these on the eyes. If you were planning on buying this, as a reminder, this is a palette of a previously released bundle, so I just recommend checking your Sydney Grace collection to see if you have these shades already, because you shouldn't buy duplicates just because it comes in a palette form unless you want to. I mean, it's your money, do what you want, sis. But yeah, just take that into account as you are thinking about purchasing this. So overall, same Sydney Grace quality. The mattes blend like a dream. The shimmers are shimming like a dream. Y'all know how I feel about the Sydney Grace formula. I absolutely love it. So if you are curious about the quality, it's the exact same quality. No worries there. The face palette. Oh, geez Louise. Okay, so y'all saw the experience that I had. These are nice bronzers. Well, these two are nice bronzers. Let's talk about it. This one has a very nice sort of natural, neutral leaning undertone, which you all know I prefer. I don't like to look red. The deep one, she's deep. She's definitely meant for those rich girls. So if you're darker than me, I do think that there is potentially the possibility for it to work on you, again, depending on depth. And this is the deepest of the three. Like I said, it will come in fair, medium, and deep. I only have the deep, so I can't tell you guys what the medium or the fair looks like. But for the deep, I do think this could possibly work for a nice shade of folks that are kind of after me, because I am a medium deep complexion for reference. On the plus side, while this is really pigmented, if you were to use it at my complexion, it buffs out. You guys saw. I put that on my face, and when I tell you I like panicked, I was like, oh my gosh, I've just ruined my entire base. It buffed out. I just took my little Sydney Grace brush and I was like, let me get this in, and it worked itself out. The blush, stunning. I think that's my favorite thing in this palette. This blush shade, gorgeous. I thought it was a bronzer topper for a second when I first saw this, but it's not. So ignore the intro to this video. It's two bronzers, a blush, and a highlight. Don't ask me why I thought it was a bronzer. But it is gorgeous. And I think that it's such a nice shade that you can use it as like a bronzer. You can put it on top of a bronzer, and I think it would work perfectly well. The highlight is a really nice highlight. I think that you can get that blinding effect if that is for you. But you can also get a pretty soft highlight, which I appreciate. Because I was able to, you know, kind of like buff this into the skin and make it look very natural without looking overwhelming. So definitely, if you are someone that prefers more blinding or more soft, I think it could work for either preference. It just depends on how you apply it, which I think is great because not all highlighters can go both ways. In terms of first impressions, would I recommend this? Yes, absolutely. I really do love the Sydney Grace formula. Just generally, I think that if you are a fan of the Sydney Grace formula, you will not be disappointed by these. Would I purchase these on my own? As I said in the beginning of the video, I did get both of these sent to me in PR, so I want to let you guys know if this would be something that I would pick up with my own money. The palette, the face palette, 1000%. I think that because I'm someone that enjoys bronzers, and because I like really well curated face palettes that would work for you know, multiple complexions, and I appreciate that this is not just one palette that's supposed to work across all of the skin tones, I would pick this up because I can see myself using all of the shades. I appreciate that they gave both a lighter bronzer and a darker bronzer because that means you can mix and match and customize to get your perfect shade. Versus there being like 4 bronzers, which usually no one needs that much. 2, yes, more than 2 just seems like too much. So I like that. I really love the blush in this, and I think the highlight is beautiful. I also think the value in this is probably the best that I've seen in a while. $28 for 4 shades. Y'all, the price, amazing. And you know makeup these days has been through the roof. So I really appreciate the price on that. So yes, I definitely would have picked up the face palette. The eyeshadow palette, I do think that I would have picked it up all for the strength that I like the Sydney Grace formula. Would I have waited for a sale? Yes, 1000%. I don't think that this would be something that I would just pick up out of the blue. It is a neutral palette with just a pop of blue, so it's definitely not something that I think everybody needs or anybody really needs in their collection, especially if you have a large collection, because most of us have a lot of neutral palettes. Most of us have at least some neutral palettes that we like to work with. If you were in the market though for a neutral palette and you like the Sydney Grace formula, I think that you would like this. So I definitely would have picked this up, but it would have been at a later time when I had just, you know, when I had a sale to pay half price or less for it. But overall, I think that this is a beautiful palette. I think that the Sydney Grace formula is one that just doesn't do me wrong. It looks so beautiful in the eyes. It looks prettier the longer you wear it. So I would have been really interested in having this. And I also really love the theme of this. I love the fact that it's tied to Taylor's girls, the 3 sisters, and you know, coming from a trio, it just spoke to my spirit a little bit more. Okay. But that is it for me, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this first impressions video. Let me know down in the comments below if you plan on picking this up, one or both of the palettes, what you're most interested in. If you'd like to see me do a couple more looks on this palette, leave all of that in the comments down below. As always, thank you guys so very much for watching. If you haven't already done so, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe on your way out so you never miss content from me going forward. And I appreciate you all so much more than you know, and I'll catch you in my next video. Bye!